Mayor Sagata.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster.
Present.
Commissioner Chatterley.
Present.
Commissioner Chavez.
Present.
Commissioner Jocko.
Present. Shall please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's finally turned summertime, maybe. We'll see what happens, how long it lasts. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 25th, 6 p.m. We're here in the chamber. And right now, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Schuster, who has a You Rock Award.
We do indeed. Today, we would like to recognize Robert Wick Jr. for being an outstanding citizen and a true ambassador of the city of Raton, and all the helpers he recruited in Boy Scout Troop number 91. Thank you very much. Robert found, I understand, a Tyrannosaurus, a dinosaur footprint.
Yeah.
There you are. And he recruited the Boy Scout troops to help him excavate it and bring it into the museum, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
There you are, dear. Thank you very much.
Hold up.
Okay.
Photo up.
Hold up.
Hold that smile. Hold that smile.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yeah.
would you like to get them all
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get
Scouts
each
together, there you
of
go.
them.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
And
Wow.
so as a troop, you all get the, you.
Really, she doesn't bite, guys. You can.
Yeah, you can go. Switch in, because we've got more photos to take.
You can see everybody.
That's right. So, Mr. Chatterley, I guess we'll entrust you with the U-Rock.
Oh, well, I'm flattered.
You all get this and a city pin. Thank you. Thank you for doing that hard work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm sure it wasn't, everybody got a pin? Did you get one? Robert? Robert got it.
did you get the
Thank you, guys. Mr. Chatterley,
Sir.
would you remain up there just a second?
Sure.
I don't know if you've looked at the Stinky Tunnel down on First Street. That was notoriously named the Stinky Tunnel for good reason. And the Veterans Park and what's been done, if you could explain. The two Chatterley boys are doing this as their Eagle Scout project. And the Veterans Park is beautiful, guys. I've yet to see the finishing work of the Stinky Tunnel, but what you did on the Veterans Park, and you can explain who helped with that.
Actually, I would turn the time over to Carson. Well, so just so everybody knows, as part of the Eagle Scout, or as part of the Boy Scout program, the ultimate rank is Eagle Scout, and in order to earn your Eagle Scout award, you have to do an Eagle Scout service project, which involves service to a nonprofit or a community organization. Technically, it's supposed to total about 72 hours of labor, and so there are a variety of Eagle projects in the process. Carson is the first of the troop to have completed his, but as you mentioned, Creed is going to be working on the Stinky Tunnels. Jake Edmondson is going to be working on the dog houses for the Humane Society. The Camp Boys are working at Sugary Canyon State Park with some habitat for raptors and for ducks. And there's something else. What else is going? We got some more planting trees. So this is just the beginning of a whole bunch of Eagle Scout projects that we're working on. Very proud of the boys and their desire to advance and to be part of the Eagle Scout, or be part of the Boy Scout program. So I will turn the time over to Carson to come and explain what he did as far as the Veterans Memorial and his Eagle project.
Cool.
I didn't even know I was supposed to talk about this at all, so this is kind of a surprise. But so what I did for my project was I decided to as my project was to renovate the Veterans Memorial a little bit and make it look a little nicer. And so what I did was I put in some of those nice really round fencing and put that in just on the sides of the park, more as decoration than anything. We purchased that from Western Woods, so the money went to the community as well. Then we bought lots of plants from the local nursery, Abundance Gardens, and we planted those all along that back wall because honestly that back wall doesn't look very great. So that's kind of what we did. And then we put some tree islands, so it's aspen trees with some Russian shades around them. And so those will be on either side just kind of to fill it in. And that's pretty much what I did.
Cool, thank you.
I recruited the entire scout troop. Anybody who would be there, really.
Cool, well, thank you, appreciate that.
So, if there's any other questions, we'll thank you and we'll depart.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work, Jared.
Very much. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, we have come down to item.
Did you want to do that notice of quorum for Thursday?
Sure,
Just read that.
I can do that. We do have a potential quorum for Thursday. I'll just read it. Public notice hereby given that a quorum of the Raton Water Board and Raton City Commission may attend the following: NMED Surface Water Quality Bureau Community Meeting to be held on Thursday, June 13th, 2019 from 5:30 to 7:30 in the City Commission chambers here on Savage Avenue. Discussion topics include total maximum daily loads, TMDLs, for the Canadian River watershed, current and future water quality projects in the watershed, and survey results from the water quality monitoring. So a potential quorum for this coming Thursday. All righty. Now, comments from the general public, and I understand, Mr. Hay, you'd like to make a presentation or some comments?
Yes, sir, I sure would.
All righty, you can step right up there.
I have a plaque here that I sent to Mary Lynn. A lot of people don't know, but Mary Lynn is related to me. She's my second cousin.
Okay.
Her grandmother and my dad were brother and sister. And I'm pretty proud of her. And I want to be recognized here in Raton. She graduated from here, and she did an awful great job.
Sure.
Being on Channel 7, and she really climbed the ladder. And so I'd like to present this to you.
Sure.
So you can maybe put it on the wall, and so people can see it when they come in to pay their bill or something.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay?
Thank you. Once you come, stand right here, we'll get a picture here.
Okay.
All righty, thank you, sir. We appreciate it, and Mary Lynn has done a lot for our community, and she's done very well for herself.
Yes, she has.
Thank you, sir.
And I also want to thank Mr. Berry for thanking me for what I've done for Raton. I've set up a lot of mules here in Raton and in Trinidad, and I like to leave the history behind. And a lot of people have given me nice compliments on them, and appreciate that. And so I'm glad to help the city of Raton out.
No, we appreciate your help.
And Mayor, I was just comment that I know through my work with MCMC Hospital Board that Mr. Hay attends almost all of those meetings. He's worked hard to recognize the historic efforts of and the contributions of miners and recognize them with the mules and the displays that he's worked on both here and in Trinidad. So, Mr. Hay, thank you for everything that you have done. He works pretty hard at that and keeps busy at that. So,
Absolutely.
thank you for recognizing the culture of the area.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tom. So we should put it in the
I have a little token here.
Oh, well, thank you.
All righty. Anyone else wish to address the commission at this time? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move into the business section. Item 6A, approval of the May 28th, 2019 regular commission meeting minutes and minutes from Better City workshops, May 28th through 31st, 2019. Minutes were provided in your packets. Is there comments?
I didn't see anything from the Better Cities. Is that?
We'll have to postpone that till the next meeting.
Okay, I did not see that either. Didn't really notice that.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 28th, 2019 regular commission meeting minutes and postpone the minutes from the Better City workshop.
Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, annual report from Raton Chamber, D. Burks, President. Ms. Burks?
Hi. This is your annual kind of State of the Union, but we also have a bit of an issue that we want to talk with you about. So, I'm going to hand, actually, my lovely assistant will hand that.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Checks in the mail.
Okay, I'm going to go over a few discussion points with you. Number one, we are really proud of where the Visitor Center is at. It has come a long way in the last 3 years. It has gone from emergency, oh my God, let's keep the doors open, to a really large growing concern as far as we're seeing lots of visitors, we're meeting the needs of those visitors, it's a 7-day-a-week operation, and we've been able to keep it fully functional for 3 years. So I'm really proud of that. That was tough. And it couldn't have happened without our volunteers. Want to stress that. The visitors served since September the 16th, September of 2016, has been 47,710. Our volunteer hours are up to 7345. Economic impact of $181,000. Our board staffing hours has averaged 30 hours a week, and that's for several of us have spent 30 hours a week. So for 23 months of that, and 70 hours per week for 6 months when we did not have a tourism coordinator or anyone. We had one of our board members staffing 40 hours a week in addition to 2 of us doing 30 hours a week. It was ridiculous. So a lot of hours there, $85,000. Total volunteer hour economic impact, $267,087 over 28 months. The hard cash that the Chamber has put into this endeavor since September of 2016, and we went over this last time, is $12,440, and that's our members' money that we invested in this. The Chamber has provided management and a large part of the staffing for this past fiscal year due to us having a gap of employment between tourism coordinator and now our VIC coordinator. Chamber proposed and coordinated the outdoor mural for the VIC, which, by the way, people love. Love that mural. Lots of people every day taking pictures, asking our volunteers to take pictures of them. That has been a true hit, a wonderful addition, and we thank you all for seeing the vision of what that could be. The Chamber also purchased a billboard on Highway 87 in Capulan, middle of Capulan, and it promotes the Visitor Information Center. The chamber pays for that at our expense. There is a sheet in there that shows you what that billboard looks like. It directs everyone coming from Texas straight to our visitor center. We pay for that ourselves. Chamber is managing and promoting the outdoor market, including paid advertising and signage. That paid advertising has been via Facebook, which has been very well received. Our signage is on the way. We have 2 large feather flags to put on either road to catch the attention of passersby. So we are investing in that market to see its success as well. We promote the visitor center every week on the radio during our business bullet, which the chamber pays for. We promote the VIC in the Raton Visitor Guide online via social media and on our website. We also do written articles in the World Journal through our agreement with them. The chamber provides all computers for the Visitor Information Center and all the IT network. We have replaced every computer there in the last 3 years. We have the router, the battery backup, the external hard drives. All of the network is owned by the chamber, and we provide that, and it's used by all the guests and facility and people there. The chamber provides the software for all the computers. That includes Microsoft Office, Adobe, all security software is provided by us. The chamber provides a $1,200 per year contract for IT services. We pay a contract, so that system is never down. If we're ever down, well, actually this weekend is a good example. We had some issues with our internet, found out it was our backup battery, so we'll be replacing that. We just ordered a new computer to replace one of the other computers yet again, because computers now have a shelf life of nothing. So we're constantly replacing that. That's used by the employees at the visitor center. Even though those employees do no work for the chamber, we provide all those computers. The chamber provides the leather furniture and table. We've gotten a lot of compliments on that. It's very homey feeling. People can sit down and be on their laptop or whatever, and we provide that. We also have a really good vision for the visitor center and what it could be. It's one of the reasons we've been working so hard. We see the visitor center for the future it has. Getting there is where we've got a little bump. But we see the vision because we would love that visitor center to be a super destination unto itself. The mural was part of that, to draw more people into that center, because in that center we talk one-on-one with every single visitor. And we see more visitors than all the events in Raton put together, and we talk one-on-one with them. And so we see the vision for that because we realize that has created a tremendous economic impact for this area. We see visitors coming back year after year. And I'm sure you all have noticed the amount of real estate that's moved in the last few weeks. Those people come to the visitor center first. I talked to 2 last week, selling them homes because those people see what we have. They want to move here. So we see a lot of really positive economic impact from that, and we want to grow that. We want there to be a gift shop that produces some kind of income. We want, so many things for this center, but we have to figure out how to get there. So that's the issue that we're going to be discussing. You'll see the second page in your packet kind of gives you just a super simplified little chart of where we're at. We had a really good winter. We are the green line this year. We had a really good winter. We are tracking well, not as well as in 2016, but we are recovering from the fire somewhat. You can see the impact the fire had in June of last year, June and July. But we are seeing good numbers. We are seeing a shift to more Colorado people. We still have a lot of Texans in the summer, but a lot of Colorado people in the winter. The cost effectiveness of New Mexico ski resorts really showed itself this year, because those Colorado people don't want to pay the price in Colorado, and they're willing to drive to the New Mexico ski resort. So we saw a lot of those people this year. There is also a picture of the mural. Of course, you all have seen it, but it's a wonderful addition, as well as our billboard. This year's actual expenditures are on, this is actually my spreadsheet, so I apologize if it's not super pretty like y'all like to see, but this is the one I use. So I just printed it off for you so you can see what I see. This is what the city has paid through the MOU for this year. We switched over to actual cost for a couple of months there, and no payment in October because we had lost our VIC, or our tourism coordinator. So, and then we did a new agreement we amended our MOU as of January to go back to the 2,500. And we were tasked with sourcing contractors to do the yard work and to do the cleaning. We spent months begging people to come and give us a bid, and we couldn't get anyone to even give us a bid, let alone a price. The only people we had give us a bid, the yard guy, it's $15 an hour for 4 guys once a week. They have been doing a stellar job. Yard looks great, but it's expensive. The cleaning guy is the same guy that the city had cleaning, but he is now contracted for us, so his time with the city can be used for other things, and y'all don't have to pay him overtime. He does a great job. His name's James Holling. I'm sure you all know him. But also $15 an hour. We now have a situation where our cleaning guy and yard guy make $3 an hour more than our VIC coordinator, who only makes $12. That's kind of an issue. But that's the going rate, and that's the best we could do there. So you see the impact of that. Even though, and you'll notice in the salary column, see all that blank spot? We weren't paying people, and we still spent this much money. So therein lies the issue. If you will look at the next page, you can see our projected expenditures for this next year. You notice there's a problem here. The salaries, we did not add employment tax when we came to you before. We have done that now. Our VIC coordinator makes $12. However, there's some variance there. For example, in the month of May, we had much more expense on salaries because our weekend person had hip surgery. So for a month, our VIC coordinator worked 7 days a week and incurred tremendous overtime because we only have one person. So that's an issue too, because that will happen. Those people deserve vacations, they'll go on vacation. Our VIC coordinator will go on vacation. We have no one. So that's an issue. So you see the salaries alone eclipse more than our current MOU. With the yard and the cleaning, it's $11,105 more than our current MOU just for expenses, just to maintain that part of it. But we also have a second problem. Our board has spent 3 years, and it's really escalated this last year, spending an amazing, ridiculous, horrific amount of our personal time running the VIC. It has been detrimental to our businesses for 2 of us. We had one person up there 40 hours a week for 5 months, one of our board members who had to cancel 2 big trips and time with their family over the holidays, and we cannot sustain that. We cannot work at that level, for nothing. It doesn't benefit the chamber at all. We get nothing for that. We handle all HR functions for now what is a 4-person department with 2 employees and 2 contractors. We handle all training. Our VIC coordinator hasn't even hit 90 days. There's no one to train them but us. And so Andy's going to talk to you about that a little bit.
Good evening. It's an honor to address you guys officially for the first time, even though I've spoken with most of you. I think, Commissioner, you're the only one I haven't met before officially, so thank you guys for your time. To save time, I'm actually going to reference my practice drawings so that we don't have to eat up any extra time. I think Dean did a great job of putting it into words where the issues are. So let me just make a huge mess up here. I'm going to review our board notes from last year that are right there. Long and short. Short. Real short. Yeah. So, we'll start here. So, I wish somebody had drawn this for me day one when I got into the chamber. It would have made things a whole lot easier. And I think you guys probably understand this just better than I do right off the bat, but let me walk through it real quick. Lodger's tax and our MOU allocation fund the VIC. The VIC funds visitor interactions, staff, and then volunteers, any expenses. All right, so that's one silo of the income and outflow for the visitors center. The chamber, as you guys know, is funded by members, and we've tripled our membership in the last year, last 2 years, and so very, very excited about that. But those funds, then obviously members expect those funds to be flowing to member activities, business growth support, no question. So that's the other side of the coin. What we've run into is a time or a money gap. Everybody's got that problem. I know I'm not talking to folks who can't relate with that. To cover gaps in the VIC, the chamber has had to spend a lot of time. The board is stepping in to cover a lot of gaps where we've seen either it's staffing, monetary, what have you. And this really is the highlight of the problem, just in picture form. It's exactly what Dee said, just really summed up. We're committing a lot of time and resources from the chamber side. We're happy to do it because we see the growth. We're excited about the future of Raton, and we think it is growing. But obviously a gap can't go on forever. You guys know that. And so this is really what we wanted to address with you tonight, and really we're coming for ideas. We're asking for help just from a big picture standpoint because we know money's not unlimited. We know there's not a kitty somewhere where you just tap into this and ask for extra stuff. But we really are open to any ideas or any additional help, just from a high level to think through this. We have a dual mandate: management here, service of our members here. Both take time, both take money. It's the allocation that we're having a discussion about tonight, really, and how do we do that better? Are there other resources we don't know about? Are there places we can dig into maybe that we haven't seen or haven't thought of? So that's the thing we're going to bring you tonight. Thank you.
Question,
Keep that up.
current membership, how many?
Yeah, we have a little over 100. Most of those members pay $100. We currently have $9,000 in the bank. We'll be out of money in September at this rate. So we're
But you have 100 members?
a little over, actually. Yeah.
Members.
Yeah, most of those are basic members, but that has been tremendous growth from,
Yes.
we had 30 when I joined, so that's tremendous growth. This is one idea we have. Here again, we're not telling you what to do because believe me, we have tried to figure out what to do for a while, and we're out of ideas. So this is just one idea. My lovely assistant will pass that around. And these are requested changes to the MOU, but here again, this is just one idea. We're requesting that all the expenses for this next year, obviously that $41,000 be paid. It's got to be paid. We can't pay it next month. It's got to be paid. We want to partner with the city for a management person. One of the issues with us is that we have not been able to hire an executive director because that's a big expense to hire a full-time person. What we would like to do is hire, and I realize the shared people concept is kind of difficult, but we're willing to go the difficult route if need be to share a person. We need someone who's going to manage our projects, who's going to be responsive to our members, but we also need someone to fill this gap. For us as board members, we need to step back from the actual staffing, the actual management, the actual payroll, HR, all that stuff that has to be done for the VIC. We need a management type person. So we propose that we would divide that with the city, 30 hours for the VIC, 10 hours for us. We also realize from having done this 3 years, we don't need a person during the summer, but that's when the VIC desperately needs a person. So they would be working basically 40 hours a week for the VIC during the summer, and during the winter, it would shift over where they worked like 20 for us a week. And that way, we would be able to cohabitate one person and still get things done, and still have that production. We are proposing $20 an hour. This is a management position. That would mean the cost to the city is $33,852 if you include employment tax. The cost to the chamber will be $11,284, including employment tax. And there again is a little breakdown of how those hours would go. The total budget request, if you take everything into account, is the $41,105 for the VIC staff and expenses, and the $33,852 for a manager. So that's, here again, one idea. We're not saying it has to be that way. It's just, we haven't come up with anything else. We looked at writing grants. We're a 501c6. So we're not able to write grants for this kind of thing. We looked at that. We looked at doing a gift shop. We don't have a person to do it. It's sitting there. We don't have any bandwidth to do it. And so we're kind of at a stop until we figure this out. So we're asking for your help to figure this out. But it's coming down to money. We have put in all the human capital we can at this point, and we have grown it to such a great spot. But if it's going to continue, we need to figure this part of it out. And we need to figure out, we really want to work with you all to figure that part out. I think our board is so emotionally attached to the visitor center because we have worked so hard on it. That's why we put our money into promoting it. We put a billboard up for it. We talk about it on the radio because we see such potential and such promise. But we need some help.
Well, first, I'd just say, Dee, we do appreciate the efforts that you guys have done. We see the results in the visitor center. We've seen the results in the chamber. I will applaud you on the billboard. I noticed it right off the bat when we were driving home about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, good.
It stands out. And I said, wow, that's pretty good. But as you know, the city is strapped with...
I know this couldn't come at a worse time.
Yeah.
Could not come at a worse time, but
So
we just need some ideas,
yeah, I met
solutions.
with them prior to the meeting, and I told her, just come plead your case, and maybe we can come up with some kind of idea, or I suggested maybe getting together, Mr. Berry, with this group in a couple of weeks and trying to hack some kind of solution, but I'm willing to open the floor here and let you all go for it. Any comments?
I think it definitely takes some time to figure it all out.
Well, I know I've been down there and witnessed these, the chamber board members volunteering lots and lots of time.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of work for them, and we commend you for it. So, yeah, I think Neil and I have been able to see that that's not going to be able to last.
Yeah.
All that time.
Yeah, we're tired. We're tired.
Yeah.
Well, and we did, and I know we've talked to our liaisons previously, and we've talked to you all before previously. Our volunteers are mostly over 70. We have lost a tremendous number of volunteers this year, not because they wanted to leave. Had a stroke, had a fall and can't work, 2 on oxygen now, can't do it anymore. Had a hip replacement, had a back surgery. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But we don't have younger people who are volunteering, and every organization has that issue. But boy, this year was rough. We had a lot of people going through cancer treatment, and boy, it's just been tough from that standpoint. So here again, that made the board volunteer even more because we didn't have, we're down to, I believe, 17, even though we've acquired some new ones. It's a diminishing return kind of thing because our volunteers are just aging out. And that's sad, but it is what it is.
And as I stated in our meeting there, I don't think anybody up here wants to see the chamber or the visitor center fail. But again...
We don't either, I'm just saying.
coming up with the funding
Yeah,
to
I
produce
get
it,
that.
we've got to see where we can go. Mr. Berry, any thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm really amazed by the efforts of all the volunteers, and that includes the chamber board. They're volunteers, and we have made it a long way. And from my perspective, people wear out over time, and this is a large task. And so I think what we really, city-wise, from our perspective, appreciate the efforts of everyone. And I think we can probably do the evaluation as you talked about over the next couple of weeks, probably come up with some options. We have a great visitor center, and in some form or fashion, we're going to be there for the visitors. That's important. So I think we can come up with some ideas on how to do this. Of course, the commission has been conducting really a comprehensive planning process. I think there are a lot of elements to that. We spent some time talking about some of those elements, and I think from the high level, we really want to pull together a lot of those big elements so that we know we're getting to a certain result that we have planned out. So I think it's a good chance to really look at the things that we've been planning, the things that we've been working on. Of course, those things centrally involve our community partners that work hard on the community. We have a number of those community partners and really try to pull all of our resources together to accomplish this. So I think that is a timely thing. Like, some ideas can be put together, and we'll find a way to provide, keep the services coming to those visitors.
And what do you need to make it through the summer anyway?
Well, we need to have the yard work and the contractor and the salaries paid. We need that, because here again, we'll be $1,000 in the hole next month just on that. We absolutely need that. But our board members, we all have businesses. We have to go back to our businesses. And so we have a big gap this summer as far as people. And so we need a management person, at least sometime. But we definitely have got to get those expenses covered. We don't have that money to cover it. So, and most of those expenses are summer loaded because you've got yard work in there. And that is a big expense.
Well, I think like Mr. Berry said, why don't we try to plan, see where we can go. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think anybody wants to see it fall on its face. We've come too far.
Of course not.
In this last 3 years to just see it crumble, so.
Well, we're sure open to ideas, so.
Well, what I like to do is, I like to sit down and look at everything and wrap my mind around what we have coming and what we're gonna have to have for output and not get hasty on this.
Right.
And the city's been going on a real good level thing now, and it hasn't been for a long time, but it's doing that now. And what scares me is that all these organizations that are helping this happen are volunteers. And they'll wear you out.
Yeah.
So you'll get worn out being a volunteer, guarantee it. You will.
Well, and 3 years is a long time. We've been doing it a long time, and yes, we are worn out, and it's negatively affecting our lives, and so we can't sustain it, and every organization has that issue. There's, so we have to figure that out. We would love for the visitor center to somehow be an addition to that as far as having some revenue stream, but we can't do that without people. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. So, but any ideas you all have when you look at it, and even, and this is not our preferred method, but if there's another organization that can do this and they're full of energy and ready to go, great! Because it's just, but of course we don't want that to happen because we've worked on it so hard, but still we want it to succeed, however that looks, and we don't care how it looks. We just want it to succeed. So any ideas, anything is more than welcome.
And I would suggest that, the commissioners maybe get together with Dee and Andy and the other board members, Diane and Laura. And
Donna.
And Donna, sorry. And sit there and maybe go through, she can go through on more detail what it is that they're covering. I know Lindy and I, Lindy's made more board meetings than I have, unfortunately, or fortunately. She probably takes better notes than I do, but it's impressive what you've done in this amount of time with the staff, or lack of staff that you have. So we'll get together like Mr. Berry said, and we'll try to come to
Okay,
some
well, just
kind of agreement.
let us know the soonest. We're on it. and we're very happy to hear anything you have to say. If there's something else we need to do, just let us know. But yeah, just let us know when you can do a meeting, and we'll be there. Alrighty, thank you all.
And thank you, lovely assistant.
All right, item C, deliberate and act on RPS trustee board appointment. Mr. Berry?
Mayor Commission, in your packet, you have an application for David Swanson. This is in accordance with the ordinance that addresses appointments of a Raton Public Service Company trustee. And this would be for a 6-year term. Mr. Swanson has served one 6-year term previously, and he has submitted his application to you for the upcoming 6-year term. His term would be expiring later this summer, I believe. Of course, the Board of Trustees generally meet one time a year, and what happens at that meeting is trustees will elect board members, and Mr. Swanson has also served as a board member in his time, and then the board members would generally meet monthly. Some of you commissioners are also on the RPS board, so we have that structure as dictated by the ordinance. But this is the application for David Swanson for that trustee position.
Thank you. Comments, questions from Mr. Berry?
I'll move to approve Mr. David Swanson to be on the Board of RPS Trustee Board.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to appoint Mr. Swanson on the board of RPS as a trustee. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, deliberate and act on event form street closures for Run to Raton Motorcycle Run, July 18th through the 20th, 2019. Mr. Berry.
Mayor Commission, in your packet, you have the City of Raton permit checklist that we generally would use to review events and parades. You will see that the event has been reviewed by the police department. They've made some notes as far as providing security for the event. Then you see it's been reviewed by our fire department and Public Works. And Public Works, specifically, the thing of interest would be in road closures. You also have attached a map of proposed road closures. So you see that the proposal would be to close 2 blocks of North 3rd Street. That would be between Park Avenue and Savage Avenue, and then also 1 block of Clark Avenue that would be between North 3rd Street and North 2nd Street. You see the dates on the event form, July 18th through the 20th. This is an event that has been held the last couple of years. It's been a very successful event. You have some motorcycle enthusiasts here in town that have put this together. I think the event has grown and will continue to grow. A popular event. I think that people come from all over, really travel from multiple states to attend. So we would look at this event continuing to grow, and I think that it then has a beneficial impact to our local lodging facilities, to restaurants, to a number of other Raton businesses. So you have the information there in front of you. Staff is recommending approval of the event and the road closure as stated, and I can answer any questions that the commission has.
Any questions from Mr. Berry?
I guess my only question was, have the same roads been closed in the past? I just noticed, with the courthouse there on a Thursday afternoons would be the only.
They closed it the same way,
Had no
the middle of
problem
the
with
street,
it.
yeah.
Well, Thursday we don't close
Oh,
right there anyway, because
okay.
it starts actually at Cold Beer, New Mexico for Thursday night.
Okay.
It actually comes in Friday.
Friday is when the streets close?
Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioner Chatterley, I think that that's essentially the same pattern that we followed. I would tell you that the city has received 2 phone calls or visits from citizens who have expressed some concern about the event, and just to be fair, to pass those along to you. So one of those is an area resident, But I wanted to, in full disclosure, give that to you. You have our recommendation for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the street closures and run to the Raton motorcycle run for July 19th, 18th through the 20th.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Run to Raton motorcycle run. Is there any further discussion?
This is,
No, go
excuse
ahead.
me, this is a good deal for Raton. The things that's happened, at first everybody said, boy, we're gonna have another outlaw motorcycle gang just sweep in here and rough us up, but as it turned out, it is really a good thing, and I just see it getting huger and huger all the time, so.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Commission, for your support in this. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Item E, deliberate and act on celebration permits for alcohol to be served at Raton, at the Run to Raton, Left Turn Distilling, Palmer Brewery, and Cider House, Colfax Ale Cellar. Mr. Berry?
Mayor and Commission, associated with the event, Run for Raton, you do see the attached celebration permits in your packet for the service of alcohol from the 3 vendors that you had named. The New Mexico Alcohol and Gaming Division would have a process here where they would approve these 3 vendors. It would require Raton City Commission approval prior to State Alcohol and Gaming Division approval. So that is up in front of you currently.
All right.
Again, I would say that's consistent with the previous 2 years.
I'll make a motion to approve the celebration permit for alcohol to be served at the Run for Raton to include Left Turn Distilling, Palmer Brewery, and Cider House, Colfax Ale Cellar.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to allow for the alcohol to be served at the Run to Raton. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, deliberate and act on resolution 2019-33, City of Raton fiscal year 19 budget adjustment number 17. Michael Ann.
Mayor and Commission, I've provided you with a revised adjustment, and you'll see highlighted in red. I did add a section on our wastewater treatment plant. We're requesting an adjustment, and this was one that, for those of you that serve on the water board will remember, in April there was a resolution passed, and we do have excess funds available in our debt service fund. We have 2 loans on that facility, and we're able to pay off one of them with these excess funds. So we've received authorization from USDA to do that, and they've given me a payoff amount as of Monday, this following Monday. So that would give us time to take the proper action and cut the check and get it to them by Monday. So I'm requesting a budget adjustment for the principal and interest in order to pay that loan off. The other adjustments you'll see are just line item adjustments in various funds. We are getting towards the end of the fiscal year, so we're just kind of shuffling monies around so that we're not over budget in any specific line items come June 30. Is there any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2019-33, budget adjustment number 17. As
I'll
revised.
second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2019-33, budget adjustment number 17. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item G, deliberate and act on resolution 2019-34, NMDOT special call for projects application for northbound frontage road rehabilitation project and pledge of matching funds. Mr. Berry?
Mayor and Commission, the City of Raton was notified by the New Mexico Department of Transportation that they had issued a special call for projects. That's not something that we have ever seen before. We received that in late April / early May, and the deadline on submission of those call for projects is pretty quick. So the City of Raton staff, and part of our transportation planning efforts, we would note that there are a number of transportation routes in the city limits of Raton which are the responsibility of New Mexico DOT, specifically South 2nd Street, which we would note has some problems with it that we would like to communicate to DOT. And of course, the city has an operating agreement where we do some forms of maintenance on that route. But we see things like broken sidewalk, curb returns, medians. We see some issues with pavement, especially in the downtown area, and some pavement issues. And so that's something that we would I've kind of waited for the dust to settle on some changes at DOT, and we'd like to communicate with them. By the way, we have set up a meeting for June 26th to meet with the new interim District 4 engineer. We'll meet at the NERTPO meeting in Springer, and we'll bring some of these issues up. But there's a question of the frontage roads in Raton as well. And so DOT's plan would be to give those responsibilities to the city. However, that has not happened. There previously was a discussion that DOT would bring frontage roads up to some new or rehabilitated standard, and then the city would agree to take responsibility for that. However, that work has never been done. So under this call for proposals, we did look at a potential for reconstruction of the frontage road between Highway 72 and 6487 as a plan of developing that for a commercial business route, and upgrade it really from the frontage road that it is to more of a commercial road section, and try to encourage development of commercial businesses along that route. However, we have worked with planners from DOT in regard to this call for projects, and because of the requirements, and I believe this goes back to House Bill 679 in regard to this call for projects, there's not time to submit proper documentation that the DOT has called for. So we would ask the Commission at this time to consider a resolution for a project which we have met through submission requirements to DOT. They would accept our application, and that would be for Phase 2 of the Great Blocks project. That would be the project we've talked about for a number of years along First Street in the area between Park and Rio Grande Avenue, and then portions of Rio Grande Avenue, Cook Avenue, and Park Avenue. Now, under this resolution, we would request $900,000 of funding from New Mexico Department of Transportation. You would be committing the city of Raton to 10% of the project funding, or a minimum of $90,000. So we would ask you to replace the earlier resolution with the updated resolution asking for that project funding for the Great Blocks project.
Is there a chance that DOT is going to come back at a later date and then reinstate this offer to us to do the frontage roads?
There would very likely be a later call for projects. We'll discuss that with them, what their responsibility is, what our responsibility is. I would see bringing back the results of that discussion to the Commission at a later time. Could be under this program where they agree to participate in funding of that. Of course, we have the frontage road in South Raton as well, which could be an important commercial route to Raton in the future. So we have a couple of things to talk about. And then, of course, there's some things on South 2nd Street that we would like to see get done. So I don't think that we would, I think that we would bring back a deal where the city of Raton would participate in some of these because of the importance locally, but we would like to get some commitment from DOT. So we'll be discussing that with them. There is some changes in the district, a new district interim district engineer. There's a new cabinet secretary. And there's also a new transportation commission. So we'd like to communicate some of these needs to them, as well as other needs we have on, whether it be on Interstate 25, Highway 6487. Of course, that intersection at 6487, that obviously is a project that needs to be planned and find some funding to construct some improvements there. So I think we want to communicate all of those things to the DOT at this time.
Would our funding source for the 90,000 come out of the general fund, or are there other funds?
Commissioner, that would be the gas tax earmarked for street improvements.
Any other comments, questions for Mr. Berry? So if I understand you, Mr. Berry, correctly, you'd like us to replace the original resolution with the one supporting the great grants.
Well, that's correct, Mayor. We hate to put you on the spot, but we plan to submit this tomorrow to get your approval.
I think we should have further discussion then.
Postpone it?
So I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-34 as substituted, the application for the special call for projects regarding the Great Rocks project.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2019-34. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item H, City Manager's Report. Mr. Berry.
Thank you, Mayor. I would report to you that the loan that we had talked about for funding the solid waste transfer station fully closed on June 7th. Those project funds are now available to the city of Raton. Generally, our schedule looks like this. We plan on completion of design and bidding documents and having a request for bids prepared by September 1st. In that time frame, we would have to go through the review, authorization, permitting process from New Mexico Environment Department. So that would involve both Construction Programs Bureau and the Solid Waste Bureau. So we'll be completing that process. As you know, over time, we have substantially completed that process and worked on that, but there's still some work to be done. So if we get some bids in around September, we would anticipate completion of the construction of the solid waste transfer station sometime during the summer of 2020. I'll bring back a more precise schedule to you as we move down the road. But the funds are now available for us on that project. I would report that tonight, as a matter of fact, there is an event at the Raton Convention Center in which the Commissioner of Public Lands, Stephanie Garcia Richard, is in attendance at a reception that's being held. I think it started at 6 o'clock, so essentially the same time that we're having our meeting. But she will meet in the morning with a group from Miners Colfax Medical Center, and I'll be in attendance at that meeting and meet with the Commissioner. The Planning and Zoning Commission will meet at 6 o'clock tomorrow night in the City Commission chambers. We do have a very busy agenda, a number of items of business with the Planning and Zoning. So I'll report back to you on the outcome of that. And then, of course, there'll be some recommendations coming out of Planning and Zoning, which will come to the City Commission for our next meeting. New Mexico Environment Department, we did discuss the quorum for their planned community meeting. I will go through that again because of the importance of this meeting. Will be held in the Commission chambers on Thursday, June 13th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. As noted on the flyer that I have put on the desk in front of you, they will be discussing total maximum daily loads for the Canadian and Dry Cimarron watersheds. That item there is very important to the operation of our wastewater treatment plant and our plan for the discharge of treated effluent. It would have a direct impact on that. Over time, we've talked about temporary standards on nutrients. You've heard Mr. Campbell speak to you about that. The Water Board has worked on that for a number of years. TMDLs really go back to 2011. We had a similar meeting here in 2011, immediately after the track fire, and it was decided that that's not a good time to really talk about such a thing. They have also done some water quality monitoring on those perennial streams we have in our area. There'll be a discussion of survey results, and there will be a discussion of current and future water quality projects in the watershed. This meeting will be conducted by the New Mexico Environment Department Surface Water Quality Bureau. As I say, it's closely tied to our discussion on nutrients. I think this is a very important meeting for the community. This will have cost implications for our ratepayers. I know that we're available to provide any additional information, but if someone out there is not sure on what this means, I would urge them to attend the meeting. And Mayor, I want to correct those times. I see here that it's 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. here in the commission chambers, but I would note the importance of this meeting. I'll report briefly on construction projects. We are at substantial completion of the Great Blocks Phase 1 construction that we'll call it's substantially complete on Friday. We'll conduct a walkthrough of the project with the contractor, create a punch list of things to clean up, and then we'll have final completion by July 1st on that project. Similarly, we are substantially complete on the airport project. We've talked about the rehabilitation of Taxiway Alpha, and we would reach final completion on that project by July 1st, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Murray, a couple quick questions for you, comments. You know, we talked earlier about, it's interesting that the frontage road project came up because we talked about some speeding issues along that section of road. Another thing was brought to my attention to, this has been the week for street discussion. I had two seniors come to me today about the corner of Rio Grande and 2nd Street, about the blindness coming out. They were almost hit yesterday, and then I noticed today we did have an accident there. Is there anything we can do to clarify that, make it a little easier for people to pull out there and get on to South 2nd? Because you literally have to get out into that first lane to see around anything parked on that south side.
Mayor Commission, I think that in regard to both of these projects, the frontage road, East 10th Street, and the corner of Rio Grande, South 2nd Street, I think one thing we would try to do is review the signage plan and make sure that the signage plan is appropriate. Now, generally the response is, let's add more signs. That's not always the answer. There are standards for when signage is appropriate. I think the issue on the frontage road or East 10th Street is probably inappropriately signed for the speed limit. And so if you put an inappropriate speed limit sign, you're really encouraging people to ignore your posted speed limit, right? Now, we do have a bridge approach, which we would be concerned about. And so I think that additional signing is going to be appropriate there. Now, actually, this is kind of coincidental that you bring up Rio Grande, because Mr. Hay has addressed the commission before in regard to an issue he had at the Rio Grande South 2nd Street intersection, and we did talk to the Mexico Department of Transportation at that time. And we talked specifically about signalizing that intersection, and their response was, we would probably remove signalized intersections from Raton, not add any. So they would decline to do that. But I think that pavement markings and signage are things that we can look at. So we can look at other things like, with the visual obstructions, I think has been an issue on Rio Grande. Of course, try to work with some of the parties there that may be involved in that. So I think those are measures that we can look at on that specific intersection. I would say that when we talked about Rio Grande, it's always advisable to drive up Cook and Park, where you do have a signalized intersection. we have a much wider street, we have much less visual obstruction, and it's generally just as easy if you're westbound on Rio Grande from First Street to Second Street to drive up Cook, much safer than it would be to drive on Rio Grande. So one thing I would suggest is just don't drive up Rio Grande, try to get on Second Street. There's a much safer way to go.
I won't tell you the comment when I
Not a great answer, I understand.
suggested that today.
Right.
Excuse me, sir, could I just interject something?
Sure.
Has it been approached, the business there, about possibly not allowing the parking from the garage door to the intersection? Because that's where the blind sight is, when you're trying to come out, the parked cars along the street.
Blind sides on both sides of the
Both
street.
sides.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we have we've got some cooperative parties there. I think we can make that work. But yeah, it's a lot easier, a lot safer, a lot better prepared if you use the Cook intersection, and people may not want to hear that, but we have a signalized intersection there. DOT would make the decision on a signalized intersection in Rio Grande, and they would decline to do it. Now, they did say we should probably come and remove Cook, Park, or Clark. That's probably over-signalized for the traffic loads that we have. And they operate under a system where they evaluate it and see if one of those structures is warranted. And they said we would probably conclude that it's not warranted. But right now, we have a signalized intersection, always advisable to use Cook. But I know that's not the answer that a lot of folks would like to see.
That didn't go over well.
We'll try to look at our other options. Cook will always be the best option.
Wouldn't the Department of Transportation, Highway Department, have to be the ones that would designate that we, no parking from that? They would have to be the ones, the city can't just go in there because it's a state highway, right?
Of course, anything we do on that is a DOT route that we would get their approval. DOT is pretty cooperative with most of that we would do for a traffic safety purpose, as long as they don't have to pay for it and it's not a signalized intersection. That's one thing they're not going to agree to. Just about anything else we can get their agreement on, but that is something we can bring up in our communications with them.
I just know that a lot of times, it's not locals that are trying to drive up those streets. We have a lot of visitors from out of town, especially in the summertime. And when they go past my store or stop there and then want to get back onto the highway, they automatically would turn up Rio Grande, and that's where the issue is.
Right.
I would just say on the other side of the coin, we really have tried to encourage the opening of businesses in downtown Raton, more traffic, more activity, economic development, and along with that comes some of these potential conflicts. But I think that we've got a successful business operating there that I think we're very fortunate to have operating there. We want to work with them in a very cooperative manner, and they've worked with us cooperatively. I think there's some room there. However, there's limited parking, and there's a big need for parking, and commonly that obstruction is caused by a customer, which we can maybe give them heads up with signage or pavement markings. We've talked about that, but they may not have direct control over that any more than we might have direct control over that.
Correct.
And we're a little hesitant to create a situation where someone's trying to conduct business and we have conflict with their customers. So I think there are a number of situations here, but we try to be a business-friendly municipality while also having, a safe traffic situation. So I think we try and find that balance here.
Absolutely. All righty. Also, I will apologize, I'm not going to be able to attend this meeting. I will be out of town at a funeral, so. Okay. Item I, closed session pursuant to 1015-1H2, personnel, city manager. Could entertain a motion.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Is there any further discussion? 5-minute break. With a 5-minute recess. Thank you. We are in closed session.
I've got to get a finish,
If you wait to state 6 limits, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
that?
It's way to say the same speed
So,
limit, I
yes,
wouldn't
I'm trying to get all
trust their judgment on anything.
so I can.
Yeah. Well, we need to look at it, for sure. We do have that flashing board a couple of blocks away. I think we have 2 of those that are up, but they need a motherboard or some part. We can get that replaced. Maybe that'll help with speeds on northbound 2nd Street. I think we have another one, maybe on Terry Drive. I think we have 2 of them that are not functioning right now, but we can get those fixed. Might help. Maybe we can even move one closer.
One of the seniors suggested that we not allow any parking on Second Street, period. None. I said, good luck.
What'd they say about driving up Cook?
Said, I live on Rio Grande, I don't wanna go up, Cook.